All right, so we got a 2006 CL500 Mercedes, and we're gonna replace the spark plug wires on it and check a couple plugs to see if they're good. And we're gonna take the covers off right here. This is a 5-liter engine. These just pop off. Pull our ductwork off here, set this aside. This all just pops right off. I'm gonna put this over here. So we got our coil packs here, and here's our spark plug wires. And looks like there's 2 plugs per cylinder on this thing. So we're gonna unbolt the coil pack, undo the connection here, lift the coil pack up out of the way and set it aside. And we're gonna wanna pull a couple of plugs and see what we got. And it looks like the plugs are coming in from the side over here, so we don't have to pull the coil pack up. But as we get towards the back here, if it gets really tight, we could remove these for access. But let's get our tools set up and we'll get going. All right, so we got our spark plug pliers here, and we're gonna go down here and wiggle these and try and get this thing to press off.
So this is what they gave me to put on there.
So evidently there's a special tool here for this. Yeah. Unfortunately, Frank bought it, and this pries the wire off from the plug. I imagine the old style could probably work, but this worked pretty good. So, but this does clamp onto it as well and grabs it, but you're really not getting that pry leverage you're getting with this. And this really got some good leverage here. And we can probably use this one to get this side off here maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're gonna use a screwdriver and slide it down underneath this one here. If we can pull it down with our hand here. Okay, it just comes right off with your hand. Now it looks like there's 2 different lengths of these per cylinder. You get a long one and a short one. And we're gonna get these 2 off, and we wanna take a look at the spark plugs on this hole to see if they need to be changed. And we'll take a look there. So we're gonna go after our second one and pry this one off. Put the light down here. You can see it fits right underneath the boot here. And then we've got a push, and it slides it off. And then this bottom one here, we can grab with our fingers. And pry that one off too. So now we got 2 wires off the coil. You got a short and a long one here. And the boots look different on them as well. And let's see if we can get these plugs out and see how difficult that looks. All right, let me grab a mirror and take a look in.
So we're gonna get a better close-up of this pry bar that we're using. Looks like a wrench. And this is Carlin, and the part number is a 2771Z on it. It's pretty cool. A little different than a Mustang, huh, Frank?
All right, the plug, you can see the plug down there way into the hole. You know, my mirror has a crack in it because Tony dropped it last week.
Come on,
so.
if I didn't drop it, you would have dropped it.
All right, I got a new mirror for it. All right, so we're gonna get this plug out and see what we got going on here. See if this fits down into
There it is, right there. It's kind of buried.
All right, so this is by feel. We got a 3-inch extension on there, and we got our swivel ratchet here. We'll crack this one loose and swizzle.
Is that loose already?
Yep.
Wasn't very tight, huh?
Yeah, it's snug. Not cranked down on it. Now, once we get this loose on it, I'm gonna crack the other one loose, and then we have the old style rubber boot thing that you can slide over the socket to pull the plug out. And we're gonna go that route with it. And this is kind of by feel here. You really can't see really very well into here.
Next video, we're gonna pull the engine out to change the spark plugs.
There it is. Probably gonna put another 1-inch extension on this thing. The valve cover's in the way a little bit, so let me get another 1-inch extension on top of this. Okay, we got that fed down in there. This one wasn't very tight. Let's get that boot in there and unthread them now. We'll see if this fits in there to remove them. It may or may not. I think it's on it. Okay, we got one out.
How's it look, Steve?
We're gonna put them on the bench and take a quick look.
Compare?
Yeah, see what they look like. And let's get this other one, we'll slide this down into the hole, onto the spark plug.
It's a spark plug removal tool.
Yeah, and it's pretty nice. It, gives you some access. This is tight access in here. You crack them loose with the ratchet. You could take them all the way out with the ratchet, so, but we're gonna put them back in with this tool.
So you don't always need this tool. What you can use too, it's kind of an old hot rodded trick. It's an old piece of gas line that flexes around. You put it on top of the spark plug and you can unscrew it. Right, Steve?
Yeah, all right, so we're gonna put these on the bench and take a good look at them and see what we got. So we got our new plug and the old plug, and we got some wear on the electrode up here. And the electrode tip is worn as well. If you can look at them, the little tip right in here. And this is a lot thicker on the top than this one is. So Frank got the Bosch ones to put in it, and we're gonna put a little Never-Seez on these, and we're gonna snug these up and change them while we're in there doing the coils. So we'll get set up for that. So we put a thin coat of Never-Seez on the threads, just a thin coat on both plugs. And we're gonna do 2 plugs at a time, and then we'll get a set of wires on. And basically after that, it's the same procedure to do them all. After we get these all on, Frank got all new wires. We're gonna silicone spray the wires with spray after we're completely done the job. We're gonna spray the coils down and all the ignition wires down to give it a little extra protective. It keeps the wires moist so no water can get in. The problem Frank's having with this right now is when he's driving on a rainy day, the car will run rough because the wires are arcing. So we're gonna get these 2 plugs in, and then we'll show you how to get the new boots on. We're gonna put some dielectric grease in the tips over here and here on both sides. We'll plug those in, and then at the end we'll spray them down. But it's gonna be the same procedure, working our way down to do it. And this tool that Frank bought is really making a difference for us today, prying the things off. You can use, the old style thing like this, but you're definitely getting great leverage with this tool that he bought. So we're gonna start putting this together. I got the plug in with the old style spark plug boot. Like Tony said, you can put a 3/8 hose in here and this will work just as fine. But but we got a fancy Fexton one here that we're gonna use. So, all right, we're gonna put this in, and you just gotta feed this thing down by feel. And you can feel it falling down into the threads, and you wanna just make sure that this thing threads straight, and that's part of the reason I like this tool. You get better feel with the hose than you do with the socket, and this thing will snug the thing almost all the way down, and we'll just have to use the ratchet and the socket at a minimal. So now it's tight, and I'm just gonna pull this off, and I'm gonna take our next plug that we got a little never sees on. We did check the gap on these. You're not supposed to pry on these or anything. We just use the old style feel gauge. They are gapped to 40 thousandths. You don't know during shipping if something were to drop or fall or whatever, so I like to just double check. If these things are bent, you need to grab needle nose pliers and very, very gingerly bend them back. If you use the old style spark plug, the round gauge, you'll snap the tip off and the plug will be no good. So you just want to just check them to make sure that they're in gap, and these are at 40. Feed the next one down. Found the hole. Okay, I can feel the thread started. Thread it all the way down until the boot is slipping on the spark plug. Pull this off. We got our setup here with the 3-inch extension and the 1-inch extension. And we're gonna feed this down into the hole. The hole in the cylinder head is very tight for the plug, so it barely fits in here. And you gotta find the hole. All right, we're going down now. Okay, I'm on the plug, and we're just gonna give this a little snug. You don't have to tighten these up too much. That's it. Pull this out. Now our spark plug stayed stuck on the plug, and we may end up taping this on. That's probably what I'm gonna do, because now it's stuck on there. I'm gonna get some needle nose and pull it off. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take the plug back out and get it in there. So let's see if I can grab it some needle nose.
It's like that game Operation when you were a kid.
Yeah.
They're preparing us to be mechanics.
Okay, it's coming off now, so.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna take this on. You can buy, you know, special sockets that have these on. I'm just gonna use some electrical tape and tape this down, and then we'll be good for the next one. Okay, so we just lined up
different lengths.
all our plug wires, and there's 4 different lengths. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 of them are the same length. 2 are a little longer and 1 longer one. So we're gonna match these up as we're putting them in and find out, you know, I'm assuming that one of these for the longer one is gonna be on one of the corners of the engine towards the back or something. May have to go around something, that's why it's a little longer. So we're gonna put a little dielectric grease on the inside in here and a little on the electrode here, and then we'll slide this down into place onto the plug, and we'll be ready to go. So all we're doing is we get our dielectric grease here. We're just gonna put a little blob on it, that's all we need. And it goes around the boot. And we're trying to get it really around the boot so that it won't stick to the plug. And we're gonna do the same thing in here. We're just gonna put a little blob just in there. That's all you need. And we'll do all of our plug wires now, so we'll be able to just get them to go into play. And you know, we're just putting a little on there. A little in the hole here. You don't have to be excessive with them. We'll keep these all in line so that we're having them the same length. And as we pull them off, we're going to match these up. This one, all right. So we matched up our plugs, and we have the wires, and we have a long one and a short one. The long one is going to be on the top side here that goes to the plug over to the right. So on each cylinder, you got a plug to the right and to the left. And the one that's on the left is going to be the shorter one, which is going to go to the lower boot here on the coil pack. So there's two prongs on the coil pack sticking out, and this boot's going to plug into the bottom one and then go on the boot. And I think we're going to try and slide this. We'll see which way it goes easier, whether we put this on the plug first and then clip this onto the coil second, or I'm thinking actually we might try and go on the coil first. That's why we took it apart. So let's try and feed this in here. And we're going to grab this and we're trying to hope to hear a snap to lock it in. Okay, there it is. And then we're going to feed this down onto the plug. And it's difficult to see in here. You have to just kind of get it to feel. Okay, it's going down there. Now I'm going to try and use my hand and get it to lock in place. Okay, that one's on. Do this one here. Feed it onto the coil. Okay, that one clipped on. And then this one we're going to feed down onto the plug down into here. Okay. All right, now that one's on. Now we're on to the next. Now, you know, we may find that we need to go and pull these back ones out. And we could have pulled all of these off, and it may be easier to line up your wires and do them all first, and do all the plugs with the wires out. But I think we have enough room to get around here. We're going to go from underneath. So we're going to put them back together one at a time as we go. And we're going to move on to the second one now. And if we run into any issues, we'll let you know, but it looks like it's basically the same job. This tool is what you're going to use to pry them off over here. So if we go on to the second one here, we got our coil plug down here. We can go on to that. We're on the plug. Yeah, some of them are coming up easier than the others. So there it is. A little prying will get us every time. And we'll go over to the bottom one over here. Clip onto this one. Yeah, these are definitely a little tight. Yeah, we're gonna have to work this one a little bit. Sometimes we're putting just a little space in here and getting a little change of leverage. Yeah, we're gonna have to work this one. This one doesn't want to work. We're gonna twist this one around and then see how we make out with it. So we took this one coil off. It's a T30 Torx bit that holds it on, and just took it off, and we just swung it up out of the way, and that really made for access to get in here. So the farther back we go, it looks like we're just gonna lay the coils aside and to get the boots to pry off. It made a big difference on it, and we're still doing one plug at a time. And so far on this side, we've had one short wire and one longer wire. And we'll get over to that side. I'm assuming they're all gonna be the same length on that side. So we got all our plug wires put on here. And the way it normally goes with these is the short wire is the bottom one on the coil, and it goes to the left of the cylinder, 2 plugs per cylinder. The longer wires seem to go to the right part of the cylinder consistently on these. The left ones are the short ones. The ones on the right were different lengths, so we matched those up. We had to remove, it was easy to remove these 2 T30 Torx bits and just set the 2 coils up out of the way to get the tool in to more access to pry them off. These first 2, we really didn't have to remove them. It wasn't bad to get at them, so we didn't. So we got this all back together right now. One side, we want to start it to make sure it's running smooth, so Frank's going to start it right now. Last thing we're going to do is, after it's running smooth, we're going to spray this side with silicone spray, get everything sealed up, and we'll be done this side. And the right side is this, the left side, excuse me, is the same procedure. Okay, it's running smooth, there's no skip, so we're happy with that. We're gonna move on to the driver's side right now. And if you have access problems, this one here seems to be a little tighter. So we're probably going to remove each coil and set them aside. Now the harnesses dictate where they go, so you're not gonna get these confused. So on this side, it looks like it's gonna be the opposite. The plug on the right side of the cylinder is the short one. The left side is gonna be the longer one, which is gonna be the opposite of that side. So we're gonna unplug these boots, and then we'll take all the coils off and we'll move them aside, and then we're gonna replace the plugs one at a time like we did. And we're gonna spray that side with silicone spray, and that side will be completely buttoned up. And we're gonna go after these one at a time, do them one at a time, and you won't have any issues with them. So we got a T30 Torx bit to loosen these up. So the longer one is to the right, and the shorter one is to the left. And these pop right off. Definitely having the coils off made it easier. So remember that this side, the driver's side, is opposite. The short wire is going to be on the right, the longer one to the left. We got our plugs, the never sees on them. We checked the gap on them, they're at 40 thousandths. And we're gonna slide these in. And this shorter boot seems to work a little better on this side. And I'm just getting them started in here to make sure they're starting correctly. I'll tighten them down as far as I can, then we'll put the ratchet on. And I tape the socket onto the little extension. All right, so now it's spinning. I'm gonna pull the booty off, go on to the next one here. Finish this shit box yet? All right, we're getting this one tightened right now, and
Yeah, you got Rick in the house. What's going on, Rick?
Sorry, how you doing, guys? Sorry about that.
so we get this one tight. And we're going to tighten these two with the socket, and then we're going to leave the coil out of the way. We're going to put the plugs back on. Snap the plugs in place, and we can tuck the wires down out of the way, but at least we'll have them back on so we don't get anything confused here. Okay. All right, so we got all our plugs in the plug wires in. We showed you how to put the dielectric grease on them. The last plug over here on the driver's side in the back, we actually had to separate. I couldn't have this taped on. I had to put this in two pieces, put the socket on, then slide the extension. It was so tight on the back over there. That was really the only difference. And on this side, we did take all the coils off and sit them up one at a time. Pay attention to how you take your wires off to make sure that they're good. So we've got everything back in place. We're just gonna spray it with regular silicone spray the coils and the wires as best we can. And that's gonna be the end of this. I do this at the end because it kind of stinks a little bit. This is going to help keep the wires moist and longevity of them. Cover the coils. And that should wind it up. We ran the car, it runs nice and smooth. We're going to throw the ductwork back on the top, but it just sits in place like we removed. And that'll wind this one up.